All righty. So I want to thank everybody for joining today. Hopefully we're not all getting scratched up by cats. Jen, I saw that. I'm so sorry. Looked sharp nails. Today we are discussing Salesforce reporting and Salesforce dashboard. And we're going to be led through it by Brittany, who is SBP's lead Salesforce administrator. So with that, we're now recording. Brittany, I will turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to mention at the top of the call that this will be just a general overview of reports and dashboards, some, basic features. If there's anything specific you want to ask me, we can definitely connect after the call. So some of the topics that I'll be covering are report formats, columns, group filters, charts, folders and subscriptions, and dashboards. So before we get started, I just wanted to pass along some quick information. I think that this is important for everyone to know when you're looking at building reports and dashboards. So some basic terminology. An object in Salesforce, so that's comparable to a database table. It allows you to store information and organize it under a theme. So for example, a contact object, it stores information or fields about the contact. And then a field is comparable to a database column. So it holds a specific type of contact or specific type of information rather. So for example, contact name would be on the contact object. So I hope that that makes sense. How this relates to reporting is when you run a report, you want to make sure that you include the objects that you'd like to report on. So basically where those fields are living. So there's 4 different report formats. There's tabular, summary, matrix, and joined. We'll be skipping over joined. It's a little bit more, I would say, complex of the 4, but it's basically more than one report slammed together. Did I lose all of you?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. For some reason, my screen changed and the meeting went away. So I'm glad everyone's still there. Okay, I was going to rejoin because I thought I'd gotten kicked off, but I'll keep going. Thanks, Kyle.
Absolutely. And we can see your screen. Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So we'll take a look into Salesforce because I'd like you to be able to follow along. So if you all want to pop up Salesforce and try this out for yourself, you can. So in order to build a Salesforce report, you can go to Reports in Salesforce by clicking the app launcher or the new button. So actually, let me just go ahead and get off of this and show you. Can you see my screen, Salesforce?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my landing page is the Salesforce administrator one. You may have a different landing page than me. You might be in AmeriCorps, Advise, Prepare, Share, Marketing. So if you have reports here, you can go to reports that way, or you can type reports and then go to it this way as well. And so in order to create a report, you just go to new report. And then the one that we will be looking at is, I believe it's called accounts and contacts. Let me just double check. Accounts with contacts, sorry. So if you want to follow along, you can just click on this one and then you would hit start report. And so I'm selecting this because I want to create a report that includes account information and contact information. Before I get too far ahead, does anyone have any general questions? Sounds like not.
Brittany, can you show how you got to that screen again?
Yeah, absolutely. To the report screen, this one?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure what your homepage looks like, but you might have a report tab. If you do, just click new report on there after going to the tab. If not, what you can do is type report and go to reports and then hit new also, and that'll get you there. And then what I did from there is I went to all, and then I just typed in the report type I wanted to use, which was accounts with contacts. And then I hit start report. All right. So let me go back to this. Okay, so the first one we'll take a look at building is called a tabular report. Tabular report is basically a list of data. It's the most basic Salesforce report. An example could be a list of all contacts within the Salesforce organization. So to go ahead and build one, actually, when you start out with a report, you're starting out with a tabular report. So just a basic list of info. So columns, I just want to define that too. They basically refer to the fields on the object you are basing the report on. So you can create a column for contact name, for example, create a date, client FEMA appeals interest is found on the contact object. So what I want to do is build a report on FEMA appeals interest monthly. That's the example report that I want to build out for you. So what I commonly do when I'm building a report is oftentimes you'll start out with filters enabled and it'll show you my accounts. But if I want to see everything organization wide, not just the ones that I own, I usually change this to all accounts. You can also, and these are called filters. So basically filtering your information. I can change created date to be all time within the last year. So I can filter my information that way as well. So what I want to build is I want to have on here full name of the contact. I want to have, sorry, I'm clicking around a lot, created date and client FEMA appeals interest. And this may not be relevant to your department. It's just an example I'm using. So in order to add on those, I would go here and type in created date and FEMA appeals interest. And so that pulls off of the contact object. Any questions so far? So I mentioned this earlier, but this is a tabular report, so just the basic list of info. If we wanted to make a summary report, what we would do is we would group our information. So groupings, if you want to group together information that shares a commonality, such as everyone with FEMA appeals interest, what you could do is move one of these columns here, and then that will group it whether or not the box has been checked. So this is a summary report. Matrix report just takes it a step further. So if you want to see things on a more of a two-dimensional level, such as FEMA appeals interest and also the date the record is created, I can move this here. And then I can see whether or not they've marked interest and then what the date was. I also want to show you all something that I think is pretty cool. So if I go in here, if it'll load, because I think it's being slow now, I can group my dates. So instead of seeing every single day a record was created, I can see it by month, I can see it by year, as long as I group it appropriately. And hopefully my computer didn't just freeze. All right, I'm going to go here and use this one that I'd already created. But basically what I mean by that is when you're editing a report that you're creating, you can hover over this and click the down arrow, and you can group date by calendar week, month, quarter, year. So I can change this up and look at week if I wanted to see it by week. do month. And then when you create a report like this, a matrix report, you can add charts such as this to it. So what you would do to create a chart is you would go here to chart properties, add a chart, or toggle chart on, and then there's a bunch of different charts that you can use. So there's column charts, you can see things, if you're looking at it for, I don't know, stacked information, you can stack column. There's nothing really I'm looking at there. Any questions on this? Am I going too fast?
Hey, Brittany, I threw a question in the chat and I don't mean to back up, but maybe if you could give good case uses for why we would pull reports in the first place and like how we can be collaborative about sharing the data.
Yeah, so it really depends on your team. So for example, the volunteer team, they track outreach. So contact effort. So they would run a report on who they're contacting and then measure it with a chart. So that's one example. Clients, so where they are in the pipeline, how many applications they've received, how many walkthrough dates, and then they can add that all to a dashboard. Just a couple examples. I hope that helps.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So we'd gone over filters, which was here. So for example, if I only wanted to see clients with FEMA appeals interest, then I could filter my information. So I could go and type out that, and yeah, I want to see that the checkbox is marked, so I would hit true. Oh, my screen just popped up and then went away again. Does that make sense, or any questions on filters or groupings? So we just had gone over charts as well. So report folders, I'll talk about that now. If you were making a report and you want to save it, you go to save. I would recommend that you type out a specific name, what you want to save it under. Automatically, it'll default it to your private reports folder. But say you want to put it in client services, or you're working for a specific team and you're making it for that team, then you'd select the appropriate folder. If one doesn't exist, you do have this option here to create a new folder. And then I would also, again, be specific with that. You know, what department is it for? What purpose is it for? Let's talk about report subscriptions. So say you want to receive report results by email once weekly, or you want somebody on your team to receive report results on a certain basis. What you can do is when you look at reports, so same area you went to create a new report, you can go to this down arrow and you select subscribe, and you can set up what's called a subscription. So you could say, I want to get the results daily at 9 a.m. I want to run the report as me, so I'm seeing it as me. You can also do something called adding conditions. So if I'm running a report and I only want it, I've filtered it so that I only want to see data if it exists. So say it's blank, but just as an example, you've created tasks for yourself and you've cleared out all of your tasks. But if something new pops up, you want to see it. So you could do condition, the record count in the report is greater than 1, so that if anything populates in that report, then you'd get an email. So that's just one example. You can add other recipients when it's in a shared folder. I just hit learn more on accident. But if I was to share this report in a shared folder, then I can add other recipients to receive the report. I can also move it. So for example, if I save this to my private folder, but I wanted to move it over to a different one, maybe I accidentally saved it there. I can, let me go and do that a little bit slower. I can go here select move, and then select whichever folder that I want to pop it into. And then that moves it from, say, my private to a different folder. So dashboards, you can get to the same way as reports. If you have it on your landing page, you can click dashboards, or you can type in dashboards and get to it that way. So dashboards are basically a visual collection of reports displayed as charts. So just as an example, let me pop up a good one to show you. So I think this would be a good example of what you can do with a dashboard, and also why you might create various reports to your question earlier, Jen. So this dashboard, for example, it shows how many cases were open this year, what's currently open, by week and location, by disaster. You can have all these visual displays by adding on different reports to the dashboard. So if you were wanting to create a dashboard, what you would do is same as report, just go to dashboards, select new dashboard, type in whatever name that you'd like to give it. I have one already, I want to say, so I'm just going to use that. And then once you create a new one, you're going to have a view like this. And what you can do is add component, and that will add a report on there. And the report needs to have a chart. So I'm just going to select the one that I had created earlier. And then you can display it in many different ways. So you can use, if you're trying to measure against a goal, you can use a gauge chart and set a goal. You can use columns, you can use the donut. You can use the same settings you have in your report if you want. And then I would just add that here. And so I've added my first report to this dashboard. I can resize it if I'd like. And then I can continue adding others if I'd like. So this one doesn't look like it has a chart, so I can use it, but it doesn't look great. And then you can build something out. So I think I have gone through all of this a bit quickly. So I want to open it up for any additional questions. Oh, I see one in here from Angelina. Is there a way to access the data by clicking on the graphical representation of the dashboard? Yes, if I'm understanding the question correctly. So what I can do is I'm going to save this. I think you might have listed out an example. Let me go to it. Open cases, Hurricane Michael shows 11. Okay, so you were looking at the program one that we were just on. Okay, Hurricane Michael 11. Yeah, so if I clicked on Hurricane Michael 11, it filters it for me so I can see those 11.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? I know I'm flying through this. Anything else anyone wants to know about reports and dashboards? There is more information to learn about them. And we can talk about that another point if you'd like, such as bucket columns, conditional formatting, formulas, cross filters. And then if you want to learn more independently, I would definitely recommend checking out these trails, and I'll paste them in the chat. Oh, it doesn't look like it wants to work that way. I'll email it out. And what it is Trailhead is a learning resource. It's not just for Salesforce admins. So I would definitely suggest that if you're wanting to learn even more. Any other questions from anyone?
This is great, Brittany. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Dara. I hope it was. I know I flew through it a little bit. And I'll send out the slides if you want to review it, and also those links. All right, well, I think we are all good. I didn't have anything else if no one else had any questions. Thanks, Tia. All right, I will give you about 30 minutes.